Today's video is my 5 meals for under £25 from Aldi, where I'm making 5 family meals that feeds at least 4 people, all for under £25. And yeah, these are my spring meals. Some of my best recipes I've ever put online is in this video. I'm so excited about this one. So give the video a thumbs up if you love this kind of content, and let's get on with the week. So first off is my spring chicken veg pie. Probably one of the easiest and most springy recipes you are going to make. It requires minimal ingredients, but it has so much flavour. It's absolutely delicious. And yeah, let's get to it. So the first thing you're going to do is chop up your veggies and chop up your chicken. Now this pie is absolutely fantastic if you have leftover chicken from a roast dinner or something. I'm just using high welfare chicken thigh fillets, and I chop them up into large chunks. I'm going to start slowly frying my spring onion just so they soften a bit whilst I get the rest of the bits and bobs ready. What's great is this is a throw it all in one pan and then throw it in the oven type meal. Some of my favourites ever. The spinach needs no prep at all because I wash it and freeze it before. I've washed it and frozen it already, so I just chuck it straight in the pan from frozen, let it wilt a bit. It cooks in absolutely no time, so it's going to cook along the spring onion. Top up with olive oil if you need. Next thing I'm going to do is put the chicken in so I can fry that off for a little bit, brown it a little bit. Once it's browned, I can fully mix it in with the spring onion and spinach. I'm also going to be frying up the coriander just for a little bit, or just dry frying it just for a little bit with the rest of the ingredients. And the coriander really releases its flavors into the chicken, and yeah, it's absolutely delicious that way. So once this has all been frying, and this is going to be low frying, you don't want anything to burn or char or anything, put in my whole grain mustard and also some thyme and my stock. And actually add tarragon. If you have tarragon, that's an absolute delicious alternative to the thyme, so I really recommend it. Once the stock is in, I go in and add my frozen petit pois, and here it is. It's a very spring looking mixture as well because it's so green. You can also add a bit of mint into this. It's just such a delicious pie. And then I'm going to add creme fraiche. I personally prefer creme fraiche with this because it has that nice tanginess. And then I'm going to add some more pepper. I don't tend to salt things when I've added chicken stock, just because the chicken stock you buy from supermarkets can be really salty. So I just add cracked black pepper into this so far. I'm going to transfer it to my pie dish, but if you can, just leave it all in one dish because then you've got just absolutely minimal washing up, which is fantastic. But I'm transferring it to my pie dish for the time being, and we're using phyllo pastry. Phyllo pastry with this is stunning. If you can't get hold of phyllo pastry, puff pastry is just as good. I love the phyllo pastry because it goes really crispy on top and it goes soggy underneath, like what the bits that are in the sauce, and it's kind of chewy and it's just absolutely delicious. It looks like I'm scrunching up sheets of paper and just putting it on top of the pie, but I assure you this is phyllo pastry. Egg wash it. So phyllo pastry, because it's obviously all scrunched up, just go in a bit hard, you know, you don't have to be too gentle because it's kind of tough. It's tougher than you think, phyllo pastry. And then you're going to bake it for 30 to 40 minutes. Just double check the top isn't burning. And there you have it, the most delicious spring chicken pie. The noise of that crunch is just, yeah, this is one of those dishes that looks really lovely, something you would probably purchase at a restaurant, but you think you can't make it. But this was so simple. It's unbelievably simple. A complete beginner could make this. So yeah, it's one that I really highly recommend, and I know lots of you are going to love that recipe. Super budget family meal, and yeah, enjoy. Next up, we're making my pulled pork, teriyaki and pickled veg wraps. This is kind of a 10 out of 10 kind of meal. The pickled veg makes it, and it's a very spring thing to have in your fridge anyway if you pickle some veg. I won't lie, pickled radish does smell pretty bad. It smells like really strong cabbage, but it tastes 10 out of 10. So just give it a go. You never know, you might find something you love, but it's something we love. I always get Oren to help me prep pickled veg because I don't want him to be scared of like the smells, the sensations and the taste. Because really, honestly, pickled veg is so good for you. It's so easy to make and it's so delicious. So this was actually earlier in the day when we were pickling the veg. So get a glass container, something that could be sealed up, and you're going to put your sliced veggies in. So I'm doing onions and radishes today. And in the containers, you're going to put some water, a little pinch of salt and some sugar. You're going to let that dissolve, and then you're going to add, well, I do apple cider vinegar. You can do white vinegar as well, or even red vinegar, but I do apple cider vinegar because that's sort of my favourite. It's just what I had in the cupboard as well. So let that pickle for the day. They're going to go nice and soft and really fragrant and delicious. The next thing I'm going to do is marinate my pork in the teriyaki sauce from Aldi. Now, I already had some pulled pork that was pre-pulled. It was actually from a Green Chef order I'd made. But from Aldi, you're going to buy either a pork shoulder or pre-cooked pulled pork. And then you're going to put it in a dish and marinate it in the teriyaki. That's all you have to do. You don't have to add anything else. That teriyaki sauce is really flavourful and absolutely delicious. Marinating, I'm going to grate up my carrots. This is an absolutely ginormous carrot, so I only used one, but you're probably going to want to use at least two. Now, grating the carrots, I am someone who likes to add as much fibre as I can when I'm eating meat. So grating carrots into pulled pork is the absolute dream because one, you don't actually notice the carrots at all. So if you are someone who needs to sort of incorporate veg into your meals a bit more and you don't know how, this is a great way of doing so. It bulks out the meal, so you don't need as much pulled pork, and yeah, you don't notice it at all. The carrots soften. So I'm going to cook it covered in the oven for about 30 minutes at first until it's really heating up. It's super watery, there's lots and lots of juices there. So I take it out the oven, stir it all around, let some of the juices evaporate as I'm doing that. And then I'm going to put it in the oven uncovered, again for another sort of 20 to 30 minutes, and let the juices really release, and it will become a lot thicker. Some of the spring onion and the leftover white onion I'm just going to fry up with some sesame seed oil and some sesame seeds. Just a really quick 5-minute whiz, and they're going to be really good on top of the wraps as well. If you don't like pickled veg, it's a really good alternative. Here's the pulled pork after cooking uncovered, and then here's the pulled pork after letting rest for 20 minutes. As you can see, the juices are really starting to go, but the meat is so tender. The carrots have completely sort of melted as well, and yeah, just fantastic. I've warmed up the wraps in a microwave. I'm adding a little bit of rice into the wraps just to make them a bit more substantial. This made around 10 wraps easily. And we had leftovers the next day, which actually added the leftovers on top of a pizza. So we had like pulled pork pizza, and I have to say I did try some of his pizza and it was really good. So just another way of using up leftover pulled pork, just add it on top of a store-bought pizza and it was absolutely delicious. But anyway, yep, I'm loading up my wraps now with the fried veg and the pickled veg. So we've got a mixture of different ones. Absolutely stunning and delicious, so enjoyable. Okay, next thing I'm making is my yogurt flatbreads with spring veggies on top. This was meant to be feta as well, but I totally forgot about the feta. I just left it in the fridge, totally forgot. However, they're absolutely stunning without the feta. They're absolutely stunning with. So it's up to you what you do. So the first thing we're going to do is make our yogurt bread, which is 3 ingredients, self-raising flour, yogurt and a little bit of olive oil, and that is going to make you some stunning bread. Actually, it's very difficult to form into the shape of bread because it's such a sticky mixture, but do you know what, just get your hands messy, get in there, don't worry about all the mess that's created. As long as you get some form of bread shape, once they're in the oven they're going to cook really well. But stir the flour and the yogurt together with a little bit of olive oil. I'm making 2 very large thick flatbreads here, but this feeds at least 4 people. But you're going to roll out the flatbreads on a floured surface, and as I said, try as best as you can to make it into 2 flatbreads on a baking tray. So the first thing I'm going to do is just bake these for about 5 minutes max in the oven, just so they form a little bit. I've always found that if I just bake it just for a couple of minutes in the oven, they form a little bit better and make it easier to cook with. I'm then going to prep my veggies whilst they're in the oven, just forming a little bit. So I'm using asparagus, spring onion, of course, because we're in the spring season, and tomatoes. I'm then going to take the flatbreads out of the oven. As you can see, they're not cooked, but they're already so much better formed. I'm going to flip them over, and then I'm going to push my veggies into the flatbreads. And you can make some really gorgeous, stunning spring patterns here. You can make something that looks so delicious. And as you can see, it's such an easy recipe, but it's one that anyone can sort of do. A lot of the ingredients are just sitting in your cupboard anyway, and it looks so great. So if you have guests round, I highly recommend making this because it looks just so great. This also makes a great pizza base, by the way, so you can add some tomato sauce and some cheese. And there we go. They've gone back in the oven for about 20 minutes. They're golden brown. They're absolutely delicious. I've salt on top, some cracked sea salt, and they're stunning. They go very, very well dipped in something like tzatziki dip or hummus. Again, as I said, adding feta to these is probably the best cheese you can add to this sort of meal. It's a very sort of Greek inspired. It's just delicious. Yeah, and a great way of using up some veggies as well. Okay, I'm next making my mushroom risotto. This is a simple mushroom risotto that I think genuinely everyone should learn how to make because it's one that's super filling. The whole family seem to love it. It's really good for you, and it's so budget. This meal is so budget, and it's one of those meals that uses minimal ingredients. And if you're making a meal with minimal ingredients but maximum flavour, you know you're putting goodness into your body. So mushroom risotto, I have a pot of mixed mushrooms. They had oyster mushrooms in, chestnut, and something else I can't remember now. But I'm cutting up my mushrooms in this pot. So this is a 1-pan meal again as well. And then I'm going to add my 1 litre of hot water with the mushrooms and just leave for like 10 sort of minutes. All this is doing is releasing some of the mushroom flavour into that water, and then I'm going to pour that water back into a jug, and that's going to be the stock that we are going to cook our risotto rice in. So it's just another way of containing as much of the flavour as possible into the recipe, and it's a really simple thing to do. It's not necessary, but it's really simple. Anyway, I'm going to drain my mushrooms out of the hot water, and then I'm going to pat them dry with a clean tea towel. As I said, put the mushroom stock back into your jug, so you should have around 1 litre. So this is a low and slow kind of meal. You want to cook everything low. It's a really mindful meal. I always put something on the iPad and watch that while I'm making a risotto. It's just a lovely meal to make. So first thing, slowly you want to cook and soften your onions and garlic in the pan. I am adding some of these pouches that I've got, veggie stock pastes. If you have a veggie stock cube / chicken cube, put that into the mushroom stock and just mix it in. Once the onions and garlic are nice and soft, I'm going to fry up my mushrooms. Again, this is low and slow. You don't want anything cooking too quickly. You really want to do this at a slow pace to release all the flavours. Oh, it's just so good. I'm then going to add my risotto rice in. I add it into the pan without the stock at first, just to let the risotto soak up any of the current moisture that's been released from the mushrooms. Again, it's all about absorbing as much flavour as you possibly can from this dish. The first bit of liquid I'm going to add in is my large glass of white wine. And just cook that off until the alcohol is dissolved. If you don't drink alcohol, or if for religious reasons you don't drink alcohol, the wine is not necessary at all, or you can get non-alcoholic wine. And then you're going to add bit by bit your stock and slowly cook that until the rice absorbs each bit of the liquid. So adding in stock bit by bit until the rice has gone creamy and soft and all the liquid has been sort of evaporated, but you've still got a really creamy rice dish. I did actually use all of that litre of stock. I also added in my grated parmesan and my chopped up coriander / parsley. I actually can't remember what I used here. I feel like it was parsley. But yeah, and there we go, stunning, creamy risotto. Goes really, really well with a glass of white wine. I just feel like it's one of those dishes everyone should learn how to make. It's so good and so rewarding. The next thing I'm making is my lentil lasagna. Perfect spring recipe. It's much lighter than beef. It's delicious, a great way of getting some goodies into your body. And yeah, it's just delicious. The first thing you're going to do is rinse out your red split peas. Rinse them out until the water is running clear. Then I'm going to slowly fry off my white onions. This one is a great meal for batch cooking. So if you like to have meals sitting in the freezer, this one's great for that. So fry off your white onions and add some of the spices. Then chuck in your grated carrot and let the carrots release their juices for a little while and soften up. You're then going to add your stock and your lentils, and you're going to let them bubble away together until the lentils have started soaking up the stock. Bit by bit, you want to add in hot water until it's at a desired consistency, but you want to add in your plum tomatoes as well as your mixed herbs. So whilst that's going, I'm going to be making my cheese sauce. So cheese sauce is making the roux and putting in some cheese, and it's super duper simple. If you don't know how to do it, I'm going to leave a link with a simple explanation how to make a roux. But you want to make your cheese sauce or white sauce. What I'm doing is checking the lentil mixture. I'm adding a bit more tomato paste just to make it a bit richer in tomato flavour. And then you're going to stir until the lentils have taken in as much water, but it's still at a nice bolognese style texture. Once you finish your white sauce and your lentil mixture has completely cooled down, what you want to do is start layering it. So I always put the red sauce down first, then pasta, then red sauce, then white sauce, then pasta, then red sauce and white sauce, then pasta. So just layer it as much as you can into a rectangle dish, and then top it off with some sort of cheese. Lawrence loves adding goat's cheese to the top of his lasagna. I must admit that's really, really nice, but you can't go wrong with mozzarella in my opinion. And then you're going to bake it in the oven until it's completely cooked through the middle. It needs to be at least 60 degrees centigrade in the middle, so you know all the pasta is cooked. And then chop it up into these gorgeous squares. As I said, you can freeze this in portions as well. I love serving it with a side salad. It's just one of those gorgeous meals, and perfect for spring because it's a bit lighter. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed today's 5 for under £25. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you again really, really soon for my next video. Bye!